Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to the show. Listen, glad to have you guys here this Sunday, the 21st of March, 2021. I'm going to tell you guys what. The eurozone is in a bigger mess than we're in. And as far as rising interest rates are concerned, the eurozone can't afford to let interest rates rise even more so than the United States. The European Union actually, when it was put together, Germany was the backbone of the European Union. And Germany had a lot of, they went through a hyperinflation back during the Weimar Republic. And the Germans they know how bad hyperinflation really is because they've been through it before. They didn't want to go through it again. So people in Germany, they believe in hard money and they believe in savings. And so they became a rich nation, very rich nation. And then there's all these other nations over in Europe that joined the European Union, and they all shared one currency. So you have rich nation Germany joined up with nations that, let's put it this way, aren't so rich. And maybe they're not so good at saving. And Germany, basically, it's like a family, see? Maybe you got a family, and the husband and wife in the family have established good credit, and they're very careful about how they spend their money, and they've got savings in the bank and everything else, so they get their credit all established and they get a high credit rating. And so the credit card company sends out a whole bunch of credit cards to them and for their kids and their other relatives and stuff. And so they give these credit cards. This is what Germany did. They basically extended their credit to these other countries like Italy, Greece, Portugal, Spain, right? And so we had these good fat years where they were spending it up on Germany's line of credit. Basically, that's what's happened. And now we've hit the lean years. And we've hit things like COVID come out of nowhere, and this is having a very adverse effect upon the European Union itself, and they're in big trouble. Let's get the charts started. Let me just find the charts here. Let me get them going. Just a sec. I got to expand my chart. It's not in there right yet. Sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. Okay, we're getting it now. Okay, let's turn it on right here. Take a look at what's going on. The EB's financial sute. I had to look that up. I didn't know what it meant. Financial sute. I found out that it's talking about back in India, they would have a funeral pyre, like where they'd they'd cremate the body and everything. And they talked about the wife throwing her. Yeah, that's what it refers to. It goes back. It's a very old saying, about basically throwing yourself on the fire. And so the ECB, financial throwing themselves on the fire would be a better way of saying it. In other words, the ECB is financially throwing themselves on the fire. The European Commission is failing. Its response to the Brexit and the pandemic, where that is now threatening emergency powers in order to secure vaccines, is the latest throw of the political dice. Even before the development of markets for getting the message, and capital flight is worsening. So they got capital flight happening out of Europe. Lagarde's very worried. They're all very worried. I'm going to tell you, concern around the world, not just in Europe, but the United States, the Federal Reserve. I was watching Jerome Powell up there talking the other night, and I can read a lot from their expressions and how they talk, and I mean, going back a while ago, this was about 2 or 3 years ago when Janet Yellen was the Fed chairman. She got up there, and when she started talking about certain things, she just basically broke down on stage because she knew from being in finance long enough that this is unsustainable. She knew that. And she broke down on stage. And Jerome Powell, he was very careful, and he was very nervous and very careful about how he was putting his words out there. And ones like Christine Lagarde, they're all very concerned right now. What are they concerned about? They're concerned about a problem that most people out there in America haven't a clue. Everybody thinks everything's just fine. It's not just fine. the world is too deep in debt and can't get out without a crack up. And the crack up would be monumental. It would take the whole system down. And so they have to keep expanding this debt. And expanding the debt is unsustainable. It's going to lead to a hyperinflationary system crack up. And it looks like what's in the crosshairs of that right now, more than the United States even, is the European Union. So they're calling it a horror show here. It says this is a horror show in the making. What's going on right now? Bond yields are going up over there in Europe. It says this week the ECB took the next step toward the inevitable destruction of itself, the system, and its currency. It says this ending a sort of financial suti. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. In other words, a financial throwing yourself on the fire, where it joins the failing EU Commission on a funeral pyre, is plainly inevitable and will increasingly be seen to be so. In other words, it's inevitable. It says business money is beginning to leave. Businesses and money are beginning to leave. It says the social ideal is coming unstuck. Bond yields are rising. Basically, the tide's going out, and now we're starting to see who's wearing clothes and who isn't. You know? And where was it at the end here? I was looking at this. It says the EU is a tail end Charlie in this global environment, which is why it could not afford to mess up its emergence from the pandemic lockdowns, and because the financing of all of its falls on the ECB's shoulders. Its financing of all of it falls on the ECB's shoulders. The ECB is not, the European Central Bank is not set up like the Federal Reserve. They have more difficulty. They just can't create money from nothing, I don't think. I think what they have to do is they have to do bond purchases. It says that is where the EU's crisis is sure to emerge. It will take out the banking system for sure, on slender equity basis, and it will not take much to rise for a rise of bond yields to wipe them out. And then all that ropey collateral in the repo system will be exposed for what it's worth, which is mostly nothing. Wow, let's take a look at this article here. Outlook darkens for Europe's virus-stricken economy. They're having a third wave over there. Let me see. Let's take a look at this chart right here. Return to pre-COVID output levels not expected before 2022. Now, if we look at the blue part right here, the blue part of the chart, we can see the drop-off in the eurozone real GDP. Look at it, just plunged during COVID. Okay, and now they had a little rebound. And COVID started to disappear, right? And look, it just stopped. Boom, stopped the rebound. And now it's going down again now that COVID's re-emerging in its third wave. And what they're saying here is, I've read that they're not expecting this third wave to end anytime soon in Europe. It's going to keep on going. They're expecting, because it's being fueled, I guess, by these variants. Virus variants. They're expecting it to keep going right through winter. This next winter. Not this winter, but next winter. You know, maybe they'll get it under control by next spring, but by that time, Europe might be basically in ruins as far as financially is concerned. Speaking financially. What are they going to do? You know? This is a total mess. It says economists are cutting growth forecasts for the eurozone economy as a third wave of COVID infections and vaccination delays spur tighter restrictions in several countries, including France, Italy, and Germany. So they're going back into restriction. They're going back into lockdown measures. It says the reintroduction of lockdown measures across Europe is fueling concerns that the region could suffer another disappointing summer. and tourism season if vaccinations do not speed up enough to allow travel restrictions to be eased. Boys, oh boys, this is big trouble. The big, big trouble. Let's take a look at this article from News Europe. Eurozone financial ministers adhere to fiscal stimulus for an economic recovery. Brussels, March 15th. Eurozone finance ministers said on Monday that they are committed to a supportive fiscal stance in 2021-2022, pledging to continuously protect the Eurozone economy through the deployment of necessary levels of fiscal support. Fiscal stimulus like that increases the money supply and causes inflation, tremendous inflation, which is a hidden tax. The ministers stressed that the premature withdrawal of fiscal support should be avoided, it says, according to a statement released by the Eurogroup following a regular video conference. They said the progress in the development of efficient vaccines and a high vaccination rate are crucial to overcoming the pandemic. You know, I think an awful lot of Europeans are very hesitant to take the vaccine. I don't know. This is a situation worldwide, that we've fallen into when COVID come. It's kind of like an intolerable situation that is exacerbating the economy. It's making things much, much worse. We had big, huge problems within the economy before COVID. What COVID is actually doing is it's speeding things up. It's progressing things much faster than it would have. It was going into decay, and it was going to fall before COVID come along. But what COVID's done is it's sped this whole process up by probably 2 or 3 years before the actual crisis is actually going to come. And we've moved to the point now where we're just pre-crisis. I could see the crisis striking in Europe in the latter part of this year and the early part of 2022, where us, over here in North America, I think it's going to take a little bit longer. I've been predicting that we're going to have a great Christmas this year. I think that the economy is going to start to really pick up all summer. I've been predicting this for months. We're on the verge of it actually starting to happen. If for one thing, there's only one thing that can spoil all that, and that's if we get a rather extensive third wave of that virus come through. And we have to go back into lockdowns or something. That could spoil it. But other than that, and I don't think that's going to happen, guys, because enough people have got vaccinated over here in North America and the vaccination, they're vaccinating them every day, right? To where I don't think we're going to have a severe enough third wave where we have to lock everything back up again. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, Europe, different story. But over here, and that'll mean that this summer we're going to move into a little pickup in the economy. There's going to be more jobs starting to become available. There'll be businesses starting to reopen again and stuff. And you'd be amazed how quick an economy can come back to life again. Especially when you get $1.9 trillion worth of stimulus pouring into it. And the virus leaving. Okay? And so by this Christmas, I think we're going to be perking along pretty good, and I think we're going to have pretty good Christmas. But they might be having a miserable Christmas over in Europe, quite seriously, this year. I think it's going to strike us later. We're the second half of 2023. It's going to strike us, but it's going to strike us in the form of inflation, massive amounts of inflation, and we're going to start to move into actually hyperinflation. Whereas Europe, if they're not careful, I don't know how much power, how much firepower does the European Central Bank actually have? Do they have enough? See, I know the Fed has got unlimited firepower. They got a heap of ammo the size of Mount Everest, the Fed does, to fight this with monetary stimulus, and direct fiscal intervention in the economy, the Fed. Unlimited, the Fed. But now the European Central Bank, are their powers unlimited? I don't think they are. And so they might start to deflate later this year, while we inflate, while we hyperinflate, the euro might start to deflate. It might, if they can't keep up, if they don't have enough firepower to keep up. And they might be reaching the end of what they can do, you know, because their bond yields are going to rise, and this whole situation could spiral out of control really quickly, you know. It's a situation in the world. Listen, thank you guys for listening. I enjoy the rest of this year, because I think things are going to get better during the rest of this year. You know, and enjoy probably the first half of next year before we have to face this massive inflation that's coming. Before it really gets bad enough where it starts to affect your life. We're probably going to be well into 2020, late 2022, early 2023 before inflation gets to the point where it starts to impact you on a personal basis. But until then, things I think are going to be pretty good. So we're going to have a little, I think we're going to have a little break from the troubles. Maybe a 18-month break from the troubles, where we have things pretty good over here in North America, you know. I'm not so sure about Europe if they can't get rid of that virus. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the very next show. Bye-bye.